Hey, this is Dave Wood from MusicTrainer.com, and today we're going to be talking about technique. You have your right hand, which is your picking hand, and you have your left hand, which is your fretboard hand. If you play guitar the other way, that's going to be flip-flopped, of course, but we're going to keep it this way for now. For the left hand, we're going to basically take your first finger and we're going to place it on the first fret on the B string. So not the high E string, not the highest, but the one right next to it. Now, what happens a lot of times is that your finger wants to kind of get lazy and kind of fall down over the other strings and sometimes touch them. You want to try to stay away from that and let your finger arch as much as possible so that the only thing that's making contact on your finger is that one string on that particular fret. So the way that we do this is we think about the arch of your finger. This is bad, being kind of lazy about it. This is good, getting your finger up over the strings and just hitting that one note. So I want to talk about the way that your fingers are angling against the frets themselves. A lot of people like to start off and have their fingers sort of pointing towards themselves almost and having them all the way back like this, where your fingers are going against the fretboard like this. The proper technique is more perpendicular to the frets. This is good. You can see the finger in line with the frets like this. This is bad. And as soon as you start to put more fingers down and make more chords and more complex shapes, you can twist a little bit. It's okay. It's not going to be a major deal if your fingers start to, certain ones angle out at from different times. It's okay. But you want to try to stay away from this. That starts to become a really bad habit. So now I want to talk about the thumb placement on the back of the neck. A lot of times people start playing and they start putting their thumb back over here, around the neck, over here. They're not really sure where to put it. The way that I try to explain it is just make it comfortable. Okay, everybody is built sort of differently. They have different size hands, different size guitars, etc., etc. The way that I like to start from and would like to have you start from is to think smack dab in the middle of the fretboard. Even if your thumb comes over just a little bit, it's finding what's comfortable for you. So with your first finger on the first fret on the B string and your thumb placed just like this, see if you can make a sound like that. Either using a pick or your fingers, but you're going to pluck that string. Now, if it doesn't work, if you get more of a sound like this, which a lot of people do, that's okay. Think about pressing against your thumb. I'm going to say that again. Think about pressing against your thumb and thinking about the arch of the finger, keeping that up, and keeping your thumb really strong against your first finger, using those two together and not just your finger trying to press against the fretboard by itself. So here it is again. Here's the correct angle for the thumb. Here's the first finger. And work on making a sound just like that. And again, your fingers should be right up against that first fret, not back here, but right up against the fret. So that's the left hand. Now let's go on to the right hand. Here is a pick. Now, I want to have you try doing this. Coming at the pick like this. So your thumb is going perpendicular with the top of the pick. And this finger coming in like this. So this part of your finger is going to be perpendicular with your thumb. That way, you just have this movement. You don't have it going side to side like that. You just have this kind of movement. You shouldn't try to really pinch the pick, really grasp onto it hard. It should be really comfortable, almost to where it could kind of fall out of your hand, but not quite. It's just enough pressure to keep the pick in your hand. Don't try to use these fingers as much as you can. Try to keep these fingers kind of loose when you're picking, okay? The main exertion should be coming from this part of your hand, okay? You don't want to let them just sort of flap in the wind like this. You want to kind of keep them in like this. I kind of prefer to keep my fingers just comfortable next to each other and just let them be totally just relaxed, okay? So now when it comes time to actually play, you're going to take your hand just as we said it, and there's a couple ways of doing this. Some people like to keep their hand completely off the guitar, and other people like to rest their hand right on the bridge part, but enough to let the strings ring out by themselves. Okay, that's the way that I prefer to go do it, and I tend to push that on people as much as I can just because it allows for some other styles to happen that way. But more or less, you want to let your hand sit like this and let your hand pivot around the strings. So to start off, let's start with the high E string, and I want you to do a downstroke followed by another downstroke. And really concentrating on how your pick is sitting on your hand. That you have those angles just like we talked about. Okay, now I want you to try to add an upstroke. So down, up, down, up, down, up. Now very important, do not slice into the string like this. Because then you're kind of rolling off the string and you're getting a very rounded, not precise sound. If you go like this, it's a little off sounding. If you keep the pick angled right on the string, you'll have much better sound. Now, let's go to the rest of the string. So basically 2 picks per string. So down, up, down, up, down, up. Now, as you're doing that, keeping in mind that these 3 fingers should be relaxed. And overall, I should mention this, that your whole hand should be relaxed. At first, it may feel a little bit strange. This is completely different to you. But at first, you want to try to just think overall calm on this. I see people that start off sometimes and their hands are really tense and everything's really rigid. It's not going to work for you because eventually it's going to make you tired. And it's not really fun to be stressed and tense like that. So think relaxed. And just do that a couple times. Let the strings ring out. I'm going to speed it up just for the sake of getting boring. And you can go 4 strokes at a time. Okay, now let's move on to playing some chords.